everybody. I wanted to spend a brief moment talking about burnout. And for the starting point of that, I wanted to first bring up the nervous system work because what happens is that we keep overloading our system, our nervous system, and we basically are frying it. And over time, that just leads to burnout. So, the way to first think about the nervous system is that you have to realize that there's a certain amount of discomfort, there's a certain amount of like stress and pressure that the body can hold on. And when we exceed that amount is when our body just starts to just get overloaded. Now, we might see the result of that through physical pain, through illnesses, through uh, lower immune system. Our body is just has a response that way, but we can also see it in terms of like our performance at work is not as great anymore, our relationships are suffering, and so on and so forth. So there's different ways that it shows up, but ultimately we are exhausted and our body cannot keep up with it anymore, and that's why it ends up leading to burnout. So at the core of it is nervous system. At the core is what holds us in place and that keeps us in a good state. So when you think about your car and you have to maintain it, if you don't maintain it, what ends up happening is that over time problems just get worse and worse. And then what could have been addressed earlier on with something simple like a quick checkup, it ends up leading into this chaotic thing because some part of the car just breaks down and so on and so forth. So really it comes back to what are some of the things that we can do to help our nervous system with distressing and to being able to handle more if necessary, but what do we do to support ourselves so that we prevent burnout, because that has catastrophic consequences with ourselves, our bodies, our relationships around other, and also in terms of career, with what we can handle. And even from a business perspective, there's a business loss in people burning out, and we saw a lot of that happening during the pandemic. People just got exhausted from being at home and working at the same time. I know I experienced that as well. It just everything piles on top of each other, and you just can't handle it anymore. So what do we do, right? And if we can go back to that nervous system work, some things that we could do to help ourselves preventing from that, breakdown that eventually leads to burnout is what systems can we add to our day-to-day experience that is going to keep us grounded. So it goes back to being in the body, because stress and things that pile up, it ends up being a lot of head work. You're dealing with a lot of problems, you're in your head, but in order to get rid of nervous system and nervous system issues, we have to get back to our bodies. And some ways that we can do that that's highly effective is adding things like yoga into your day-to-day routine, having a really good gym routine that's going to keep you grounded, and it's going to help you come back to your body. So you have to be careful, right? You don't want to add an activity just because you're adding an activity, right? Because it might lead to more stress. So you want it to be an activity that's going to bring you back to your body, that's going to relieve some of that stress, and that's going to keep you like focused and nurtured internally. So you have to think about that activity. And that's why I always suggest add yoga, add swimming if it's a meditative experience. That's some of the things that I do on a regular basis to keep me grounded and to prevent burnout. Now, once that this is the prevention phase. Obviously, once you're already in burnout, what do you do? Well, the first thing you have to do is scale things back. Accept that you're already experiencing burnout. Be mindful of your body instead of being mad at yourself or, oh, I could have done things different. Or like, why can't my body just do more and more? You have to take a different approach. You have to be very mindful of your body. You have to be appreciative for giving you the red flags, like I can't do this anymore. And from that place, scale back. Think about what things can you let go that can take away from that stress. What can be removed or what can be added? So ask yourself those questions. It's like doing an inventory. What do you do? The burnout is already in progress. Can you ask for time off at work? Can you take a couple days off? A lot of times we think the only time we can ever, take time off is when our boss is telling you you can go do it now, or somebody gives us a green light, or because there's a holiday and everybody's taking the time off and that's the only time that it's okay to take time off, or because there's a legitimate vacation that, I don't know, people in a family planned out for a while and now it's acceptable to take time off. But it's also acceptable to take time off, to just take care of yourself, to nurture yourself, to go back to your body. And so see if you can take a few days off and literally turn off the mind, because that is the source of a lot of our nervous system work. We're in constant stress mode and operating from survival, and that's what leads to burnout. So do activities that are going to force you to be in the body and force you to turn off the mind. So that's sort of that initial steps that you could do. Take some time off, do some activities that are going to put you in the body and remove you from the mind. And depending on that, and depending on how it goes, to just take some days off, assess, is it something that's going to require a longer period of time, or it's sufficient to just have taken that, I don't know, week off? If it turns out you need longer time, maybe ask, do I need a mini sabbatical? Can I take a month off from work, for instance? Even if it's without pay, even if I haven't accumulated enough vacation time, can it be okay to take some time off? Some companies nowadays, because of everything we went through with COVID and all that, they're much more supportive about taking personal time off to just deal with like wellness and all that type of stuff, because it is related to burnout. And there is a business cost for people being burned out. So if you have that, I mean, maybe this is something you can lean on if it turns out that a few days wasn't enough to manage the burnout. But let's say you can't do that because your job doesn't support that. Then you have to ask yourself, is this the type of career path that I want to be in? Is it worth me staying in this job? Oftentimes we end up sticking around with something that's not meant for us anymore, just purely out of habit or purely out of the pressure and the stress that we have to maintain an income. But if you realize that this is not a good thing for you anymore, what is good in one point of your life might not be good in another point of your life. If you come to that realization, then this is an opportunity. Actually, this is actually an opportunity to think about what direction do you want to go, that you want to go in terms of career path that's going to be more in alignment with true to your heart and true where you need to be headed. So ask that question. And when you go into that brainstorming phase, you might realize like, oh, I could just do a career pivot, or I could just switch jobs into something that is going to be more conducive in the direction that I want to be going. And from that place, you can find peace and into a new routine, into a new path that can keep you both successful in what it is you have to do, as well as keep you more balanced and keep you more grounded, because you have to prioritize that well-being piece. It's not something that highly advertised in corporate America because this is just how we've been running. It's been survival mode. It's been profits. It's been go, 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 go. And it's like ignoring the body. And that has had serious consequences as a society. So ask yourself that question. Is this job providing what it needs to provide in my life? Or can I be doing something different? And this is the opportunity to do that pivot if they're not going to support taking longer time off to deal with burnout. And then once you make that transition happen, then make sure that when you start that new job, for instance, that you're gonna be starting it from a really good place, because it's easy to go back to old habits, like, oh, you just go go go, operate from survival, uh, just get things done and forget about everything else. If you go back to the same habits, it's gonna lead to the same results. Yes, the job might be different. Yes, it might be more in alignment with the path that you're supposed to be going. But if you don't address those initial things that are going to be preventing you from overloading your nervous system, you're going to lead to the same results. So reassess at that, once you are in this new place, um, think about being very strategic about designing things. Think about how you're going to incorporate activities that are going to put you in your body on a daily basis, because it's easy to think like, oh, I just work out over the weekend. But it's not the same thing, right? Because on a day-to-day basis, you're still going through the motions. So this needs to be a practice that you add to your life on a daily basis. Maybe it's something you could do before work. Really, something as easy as 30 minutes. You don't need to be spending hours and hours at the gym. Or maybe it's something that you can put at the end of your workday, and it will force you to get out of work, because it's easy to just stay there. Whether you're working from home or working from a specific place, it's easy to just go, 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 stay, 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 and not have very clear boundaries with your work-life balance. So maybe adding that gym class, for instance, at the end of the workday, that's gonna put you back in your body. It's gonna be the thing that's gonna trigger a better habit forming system that's going to support your nervous system and ultimately prevent burnout, because that is the goal, right? You might have already experienced burnout, you might have already seen the bad consequences of burnout, uh, but you also don't want to be repeating the same story into the future. So think about redesigning those things that are going to support you into the future. And one thing to keep in mind, burnout, it might not just be related to work. Sometimes work is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Maybe it's just the stresses that are adding on, and you just burn out. But at least in my experience, it wasn't just work. It was, all these family issues. It was like the pandemic. It was, so many issues that stack up that you don't realize it, but it ends up taking a toll on your body. So also reassess, not just in terms of the job that you're doing, in terms of career path you're doing, but also assess like what is going on with my life, what is going on with family, what is going on with the world around me, and what could I be doing to protect myself more, to make sure that I'm gonna be fine. Because yeah, we can't solve all the world problems, but we can definitely make sure that we solve our own problems and that we do a really good job, so they're able to take bigger and bigger challenges. And eventually, from a collaborative standpoint, if we all put our little pieces of effort, we could be solving more world problems. So that is possible, but it always starts with a person. If you take care of yourself, if you take care of your body, if you do the things that are gonna prevent from burnout, or that are gonna support you through the burnout process, or that are gonna make sure that in the future it doesn't happen again, because you've added new systems in place that are gonna support you to prevent burnout, then you can, from that empowered state, you can have the confidence that you can do things that are going to move society forward. You're going to have a coalition of people that you can come together and do these things. And that way you can remind yourself you can't stress about all the world problems, because one day you can tackle them. But to get to that day, you first have to take care of yourself and take care of your nervous system and do the things that are going to soothe you and support you. So that's the take home. There is a lot that we can do that is within our control, that can support us in a journey of wellness, in a journey of better nervous system control, so that we're not overloading it and surviving mode all the time, and it's leading to all these health problems and all these issues. There are things we can do, that is within our power, that can change our life experience and our lifestyle for the better.